Was this just a lost year?
I'm hoping not. With the pandemic, nearly everyone has gone through some hardships, and parents with school-age kids know this is all, no, they know this all too well, with many trying to balance their jobs and being a teacher at home.
And this is something I've thought about, are our kids missing important milestones because of not being out in the world like they normally would? So joining us is Dr. Laura Saunders from the Institute of Living. So hopefully, Dr. Laura, you can make us feel a little bit better.
Hello, friends, and happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. To you.
So I guess this is where we all need to tap into our inner optimist.
Okay.
So, but this is a real question. Like, is this year lost? Is this a lost academically, lost socially? I do worry that a lot of kids have missed some developmental milestones. They've missed social milestones. They have to have some gaps in their academic learning. But even so, children are resilient. They can make up some of this. Schools are going to need to be flexible in terms of making modifications in their curriculum, because especially for high school, where a lot of things, a lot of skills build on the previous year. So it's concerning, but I think we need to tap into our inner optimist, try really hard to, catch up where we can, but acknowledge that there can be gaps.
And also the mental health is such a big deal. I was shocked to read this, that 30% of 12 to 17-year-olds, so that of the emergency room visits from 12 to 17-year-olds were increased by 30%.
That's incredible.
For mental health reasons. I do think it's been really hard on the teens.
Yes. So that is a report that came out of the Center for Disease Control. I agree. It's been very hard for teens, because teens, is where you're coming out of the bubble of your home, right? You're in school, you're socializing, you're doing extracurriculars, you're doing clubs at school. So when all that was shut down, really, we saw incredible increases in depression and anxiety due to the isolation, due to the losses. So my hope is that as we are getting ourselves vaccinated, getting into nicer weather, getting kids out and allowing them more freedoms based on the fact that we are taking steps towards herd immunity. 16-year-olds and up now can get vaccinated. So we need to really acknowledge that this has been very serious in terms of the losses and the changes. But I have to hold on to some optimism that we're up for better times, because we could not say this at this time last year.
That's absolutely right. And, if the parents out there have an opportunity to send their kids back to school as opposed to in home, you're kind of recommending that in school.
Get them back to school. Get them back as much as we can.
There is something that can be learned, a silver lining perhaps. This is sort of our generation's World War II or something like that. You can tap into resilience, and in some ways, our kids are going to grow from this, right?
That's the hope. I do think it's important to acknowledge where gaps and deficits may exist, whether that's academic, whether that's social. Now your child doesn't want to go out because they're afraid to ask someone to, what if there's germs in that person's house? So I do think we need to identify issues or gaps, but we have to pivot towards resilience. We have to, look at ways to bounce back. We have to look at ways to be flexible and make some changes. Hit the reset button.
And you also say create meaning. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we can say that this is the worst year of our lives, or we can say that this was a year with a lot of challenges, but we've learned so much about ourselves, about our families, about our communities, right? We have to change the script. Be proactive, create realistic goals for yourself. You're not going to change your whole family environment, but think about things. I always say this, think about things that you can control versus you cannot control. What's one thing I can do today to help myself or help my family, right? So it's being really realistic about what your goals are, and do things that you do have control over in your life.
Focus on what you can control. I'm
not kidding. My therapist said that to me the other day. He was like, there are certain things you can control and there are certain things you can't control. Focus on the things you can control.
And as always, if you or your child are struggling, please ask for help. There are some kids out there who are struggling, which is why there's been a 30% increase in visits to the emergency room for mental health reasons. So if your child's struggling, ask for help, but wherever possible, create meaning, be proactive, do one good thing for yourself and your family today.
All right. Thanks, doctor. We appreciate it.
Thank
Happy
you, Dr.
Wednesday. We'll
Laura.
see you next week.
Take care.